I'm Teisha with Shalom TV's news update from Monday, October the 7th, 2013. Shas spiritual leader and former chief Sephardic rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, passed away today at the age of 93 at Jerusalem's Hadassah University Medical Center, where he had been battling illness over the last few weeks. Yosef's death was being mourned across Israel today. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the rabbi one of the great halachic authorities of our generation. He said Rav Ovadia was a giant in Torah and halacha and a spiritual leader for tens of thousands. He worked hard to glorify the heritage of Israel. At the same time, his halachic decisions took into consideration the reality of renewed life in the state of Israel. Netanyahu further said he was imbued with the love of Torah and his people. The Prime Minister added that he always learned something from his meetings with Yosef and said the Jewish people lost one of the sages of the generation, sending out his condolences to Yosef's family, students, and many followers. Ovadia Yosef is survived by 10 children, including his son Yitzchak, who is now Israel's chief Sephardic rabbi, many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Yosef was laid to rest this evening at a cemetery in Jerusalem's Sanhedria neighborhood alongside his wife, Rabbanit Margalit Yosef, who passed away in 1994. Hundreds of thousands of mourners gathered for the funeral in Jerusalem from across the country. And Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu addressed a crowd at Bar Ilan University last night, where he said that there will be no peace with the Palestinians until they recognize the Jewish right to a homeland in Israel. Netanyahu said a necessary condition to getting a true solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict was and remains clear as the sun, ending the refusal to recognize the right of the Jews to a homeland of their own in the land of their fathers. He said that is the most important key to solving the conflict. Israel's opposition leader Sheli Yachimovich criticized the Prime Minister's speech for being pessimistic. She said it looks like Netanyahu was sucked back into the extreme right of his party and the Bayit HaYehudi and isn't aware of the hope for an agreement that is spreading through the public, referring to the current peace talks being held between Israel and the Palestinians. Israeli security forces continued their investigation into the attack on a young girl in Psagot, a Jewish settlement near Ramallah in the West Bank. 9-year-old Noam Glick was shot in the upper torso when she was outside in her yard Saturday night in what is thought to be a terror attack. She was rushed to Shaarei Tzedek Hospital in Jerusalem, where hospital officials said that she had been lightly injured and she is being treated. Security forces were focusing on a hole that had been cut in the security fence surrounding the settlement, as well as a set of footprints they had found in the area. Israel's security agency, the Shin Bet, is leading the investigation, and a crime scene investigation team from Judea and Samaria District Police were collecting forensic evidence. Israel police said yesterday that they had arrested a total of 14 Orthodox Jewish teenagers over the last few weeks, suspected of participating in over 20 hate crimes or price tag attacks. Due to the ages of the suspects, their identities were not released. However, police spokesman Mickey Rosenfeld said that the youngsters were between the ages of 13 and 16 and have all appeared already before Jerusalem's magistrate court, which has remanded all of them except for 4 who were granted a conditional release based on their young age. Rosenfeld said that these suspects were apprehended following an extended undercover operation by the newly formed unit focusing on such crimes. Rosenfeld said all of the suspects arrested and being charged were involved in and have admitted to crimes against Arab Israelis that have taken place in East Jerusalem, including stone throwing, attempting to attack them, and a breath of vandalism. The arrests follow a series of so-called price tag attacks over the last few months, including the latest, as we reported to you last week, when 5 cars were vandalized on the outskirts of Jerusalem's Old City. Price tag attacks are thought to be the doing of Jewish right-wing extremists who are suspected of committing revenge attacks on Palestinian property over Israeli policies in the West Bank or in response to violence against settlers. Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Yaalon left Israel for the United States last night, where he is scheduled to meet with U.S. Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel. The two leaders are expected to address the current situations in Iran, Syria, and Lebanon, among other issues, as they have done on a regular basis over the last year. Yaalon also plans to meet with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, as well as Chairman of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, Senator Robert Menendez, and he'll also meet with the heads of Jewish communities. Yaalon also has a planned visit to a Lockheed Martin production center in Texas to inspect the F-35 fifth-generation multi-role fighter jet, which is due to come into service for the Israel Air Force in 2015. The Women of the Wall, the organization who fights for equal rights for women to pray freely at the Western Wall, announced over the weekend that they would be willing to pray in a new egalitarian section adjacent to the Western Wall Plaza. The Jerusalem Post said that the group agreed in principle to a proposal for a third prayer section at the wall under certain conditions regarding the design as well as the management of the prayer section. The Women of the Wall said in a press release, after going through a comprehensive and emotionally trying decision-making process, Women of the Wall's multi-denominational executive board has voted in vast majority to create a future in which, under the right conditions, the women's prayer group would pray in an equal and fully integrated third section of the Kotel. Adding the new area will be governed not by Western Wall Chief Rabbi Shmuel Rabinowitz, but by a board of Jewish leaders, including equal representation of women who value women's prayer and reject all forms of violence. The new egalitarian section, to be located in an area adjacent to the plaza known as Robinson's Arch, was first proposed in April as part of a plan by Jewish Agency for Israel Chairman Natan Sharansky, along with Knesset Cabinet Secretary Avichai Mandelblit. A full plan is due to be released in the next few weeks by the Knesset. And finally, tonight you can watch a special episode of L'Chaim devoted to the 1973 Yom Kippur War at a special time of 8 p.m., followed by a film about the war called A Battle Over the Soul at 9:30. That's tonight on Shalom TV and ShalomTV.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Monday, October the 7th, 2013. I'm Teisha Bader.